Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Frequency. I have an absolute delight, guestful guest, Nisha Miglani. And hello, Nisha. How are you today?
Fantastic. Thank you.
This has been a long time coming, and I'm so happy that we're here in this moment right now. We have so much to talk about, and I'm questioning whether there'll even be a part two because there's so much to talk about. So let me do a little bit of an introduction, a biography, as if you will, about yourself, and you'll have to bear with me here because, as I said earlier to you, you've accomplished so much already in your young life. And yeah, so let's start the biography here. So Nisha Miglani is a Vedic astrologer, consciousness-based leader, a spiritual teacher, and a perpetual learner and researcher. She is a polymath holding knowledge and wisdom of various cosmic literature, arts, and sciences. Nisha is a certified Ayurvedic health practitioner, a consciousness-based ancient healing art. In Vedic astrology, she is certified in Rashis, rulers, and the Holistic Zodiac, career, Dharma, and life purpose. She's also a qualified spiritual teacher, Lemurian Planetary Healer from the Diane Cooper School of White Light. And Nisha is also an entrepreneur, having found and built companies and worked with industry leaders in areas of retail, renewable energy, aerospace, public markets, etc. She's bringing all her experience and learnings together to help others in this planetary transition that is currently taking place. She is the host of Divine Sight podcast and offers her teachings through articles and workshops. And she's launching her new school soon, along with first book. Nisha is currently the co-executive chair of the Nirmal Usha Foundation to raise consciousness, and for her efforts was awarded a certificate of completion for the Mobilizing Nonprofit Board Program, May of 2020, the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University Executive Education. That is quite an extensive biography already. Have I missed something? Did you want to add something to that, Nisha?
Well, I also got a further certification on Vedic into the meta level of the planets. But you got it all covered, I think. Thank you so much. I think, and it's an ongoing process, right? I'm a perpetual learner, and that's absolutely the truth. And I love learning and I love teaching. And yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for that.
So last time we spoke, which was, I believe, in October, late October, early November, it may have been, and it said, when we do this podcast, I'm sure things are going to change. I think the transition continues. So what's your assessment of it?
I did a very, our group did a really amazing gathering for the winter solstice. Actually, today is kind of like a Vedic solstice. It's a Makar Sankranti, so it's a good time when the sun is begin to go in the northern hemisphere. But we worked with really amazing masters there, and it was really special. And we got a feeling after a couple of weeks that, and my teachers confirmed that they're really happy about the work that we did. So what we do is, we kind of have an idea of where we headed in various level of our own understanding, whether spiritually or non-spiritually, doesn't matter. We know everything is changing. You don't have to be like spiritual to understand that the change is here, right? The good thing about being spiritual is you get guidance and you get like, okay, the peace and, things that you are equipped with so you can deal with the change. Versus if you're not, then it physically trying to deal with all that is very difficult, or you're on your own, and that's the only difference. But I believe that the changes are here, and the work that we did, and many millions of other light workers, I'm sure, were involved, as a collective to kind of bring in the light. And see, I believe the light is coming here, and it will destroy the old now. And not only in a collective level, but individually too. And I'm sure you're feeling that. We all are going through many initiations, and the next level, you level up. You're like, yeah, I leveled up. And then they're like another level, right? And it's just, I feel like the world is headed over there, and the changes are even more evident. And the quality of change depend on us, each individual. It's not a
Right.
group, it's you, it's me, and it's everybody who's watching this. Everybody can make a difference because of our special human heart.
Right.
Human heart is so special that no one can experience that until you you are born as a human. So that's why the masters and everybody around the universe are just at awe. Like, wow, the person just got hurt and now they're helping this other person. Wow, like we have that in us, but it can go the other way around. But it just goes back, and I'll talk more about when it comes to Vedic, if we're going to talk a little bit more about that and
Yeah.
the different things and how we have that within us. But yeah, the change is here for good.
I agree with the heart, and so much of our lives, I believe, Nisha, has been programmed to believe that we as human beings are not that special after all, and that we as human beings cannot affect change. So when you say bringing in the light, a lot of what I believe in is really people finding their authenticity, anchoring their authenticity, not really caring about what other people think of their authenticity, and just be luminous as you are actually. So what are your thoughts on that?
And you are too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, the thing is, because because of the human ego, you know we kind of tend to sometimes get distracted by it, right? And so much so that we even forget, the distraction is the reality now.
Right.
And it's not that we have to go some far-fetched and find a master or go in the mountains to do any kind of, that's not what we're here to do. Being spiritual doesn't mean that, okay, I'm not going to do anything in the world. You are of this world, so you are here to do the worldly things. you know
Mm,
and the spiritual aspect makes you whole. That's about it. You're only using a certain part of you to do great things, but hey, don't you want to have the whole part so you can finish it in a better way? And that's
yeah.
what spirituality for me is. It's a very practical application of things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Absolutely. And I believe that there are way showers that start the process off that actually endure, in my view, a lot of trauma and pain throughout their lives to, and not, it's not always the case, but, a lot of who I've encountered are spiritual teachers that have this incredible wisdom, most often than not have had traumatic experiences or have had very difficult experiences in their lives. And it's got them to a certain place where now all of that integration has allowed them now to kind of look back and help people that are currently in that journey themselves.
Absolutely. And there are initiation process that you have to go through to become a master. I mean, that's in any, you want to be a martial artist, you got to go do that practice every day. It doesn't matter how much you're going to get hurt, because you
Right.
want to be a master one day, right? So if you start looking, and that's what my book is about. My book is about that we are in a learning establishment, it's a school. We're here in a school,
Right.
and it's a magical mystery school is what I call it, because there are a lot of magic here, a lot of fun things here, but the mystery is because the answers are right in front of you. You may
Right.
not see it, and it just makes it like exciting. However, again, the distraction come to play, and then we kind of have to overcome that. The reason I feel that you may be seeing a lot of like spiritual leaders are considered, they feel like they're in a path of evolution. Let's say no one has completed, because you're not going to be living otherwise, right? If you're in this planet, well, the karma is still you're dealing with. But a lot of people now, because of the time frame, the cosmic moment after 2012, to 2032, we're going through a cleansing period, right? And we're just right in the middle. It's 2022, right? And what's going to happen, what I believe is, yes, people are going through a lot of traumas and a lot of things, and it's because we are not only paying our own karma anymore, right? As I said, these teachers may have taken on some of these beings, even us, we may have taken upon that, hey, you know what, I'll clear this family's karma, or like, whatever it is, we're here to clear all of it so that we can move on. Like we're moving the house. I think one of my podcasts, I talked about it. We're moving the house, and if you just talk about the ancestor part of it. So, if you're living in the same house for 7 generations, and, there's a basement, and from your great grandfather's thing or everything is there, and we haven't, now we're moving the house. So what we have to do, we got to clean that basement. And we like to okay, put it there, the fan, the TV, I don't know, or some gifts, or, oh my God, I love this thing. This is my blah, blah, blah. They're all there. So what we're doing is cleaning that up. And it's not easy. And there may be snakes there. Who knows? I don't know. We have, and it's not easy to do that. And I feel like people who are born, the souls who are incarnated, are the brave souls who believe that they can do this, okay, right now. Right. And some will be successful, some will be not. There is no judgment. The Leela continues. God has this thing, and some people may want to continue the 3rd dimension, and they're not that evolved. The new soul, when they come to the planet, they may be born, and it may be a baby for two hours, and they pass away, and people feel like, wow, because the soul is just kind of testing how Earth is, because that's not our nature, right? Our nature is not physical, right? That's the big understanding. But answering your question about a lot of people are going through initiations, yeah. And I think the people who are actually have taken on and kind of evolved and kind of let go of some things are evolving, and they're like, oh wow. And then they're like, okay, so it gets easier and easier, and once you are there, as a human, you just cannot not help others. It's your innate, because at the end of the day, we're all one. We're helping ourselves by helping others, right?
We're absolutely correct. We're reflections of each other. You are a mirror of who I am, and vice versa. And everyone in our lives are just different increments of perception that we project onto ourselves. Let's change gears a little bit. I'm so curious about your spiritual evolution. Were you always spiritual in your eyes?
I don't believe so. I was a curious person. So everything is just for my curiosity at first.
Right. And where were you born, Nisha?
So I was born in Kathmandu, Nepal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Kathmandu, Nepal, and growing up there, I would imagine, right? How old before you emigrated?
I was in my high school, so around, I think it was 17. I became an adult here.
Okay, gotcha.
So I was born in Kathmandu, Nepal. My dad was from Joshi family, and my mom from Sigdel family. My dad's family was very orthodox. My family, a very, you could call it like a modern Vedic living. I would call it modern, not in the sense of modern today in our world. Right. Basic, ceremonies and stuff that was done thousands of years ago was continuing, but it has been modernized, but it was still there, and in Nepal, we have festivals almost every week. I mean, on the street, someone is always doing something. There's always celebration, something going on, and thanking God or celebrating. It's a country of a lot of celebration of these festivals and stuff. But within, because we follow the lunar calendar, not the solar calendar. Even my birthday, I celebrated with lunar calendar, not my July birthday. I mean, July was there for maybe official reasons and all that other things, but it was a really And in the house, it was the same thing. So a lot of like when my grandfather changed and went and ate in the kitchen, we were not allowed to go there. So those kind of very very
Conservative.
orthodox. And
Yeah.
my mom's side is like laid back and just free souls, but at the same time, not probably sometimes they can be just too laid back, you know what I mean? But I had a lot of cousins, and a lot of them are here now, but so I grew up with like a mixture of both. My mom, free soul, she got married to this really orthodox, I'm like, wow, now I think about it, and so mostly growing up in Nepal. And then what happened was one of the best schools there was St. Mary's School. It was like from a pre-K to 10th grade. And they decided to put me on a Catholic school, and so when I go home, there was a lot of Vedic practices and all these kind of thing going on. When I go to school, was our Father in heaven, and and no one taught me no one taught anybody about, maybe some parents, but it was like more of a self-understanding for a curious child like me. It was very interesting later just to find out that my life was pretty much crash courses of things. I
Hmm.
had to learn both. I had to learn both. And that's the only way to do it. I'm like, wow, that's a genius of my soul to pick that. Like,
That's
what I mean?
amazing.
Yeah, otherwise, I would not be able to really learn Vedic astrology. But going back to, so my dad's family, my grandmother's side were all royal gurus. Or
Okay.
so the gurus, when they go to adult age, the guru comes and give them Gayatri mantra and all those different type of mantra. So they were all the royal gurus. Actually, I had participated in, actually, yeah, I have participated in one of the royal ceremony as a part of this. They needed girls to kind of do things and stuff. It was really amazing, actually. But my dad's side were all astrologers, royal astrologers, and yeah, maybe I knew when I was little, didn't care. And when I came to US, I became very Western, very Western. Like I literally cut off a lot of things. Not trying to, but it just so happened. And for me, now new curiosity at that time, maybe, and so I'm, oh my God, and to a point, even my thoughts mostly became English. And
I
it's a
know.
very interesting way of looking at it. But Nepal is it's a special place. It's a lot of Himalayas. It's a very small country, sandwiched between India and China. So the 3 billion population kind of, landlocked, this little 30 million people. And the mountains are there. There are 6,000 rivers. There were much light. So we kind of followed the light, and we kind of really followed the nature then. And it was
Well,
different, right? 80s. It's different.
well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, I haven't been to Kathmandu or Nepal, but the video that I've seen and the expression from people that I've heard, it is, I mean, nature and the environment is just awestruck. You're just awestruck with it. And God is in everything, and seeing the mountains and seeing the rivers and seeing, was that consciously embedded within you? Was that something that you understood? Is that something that you came afterwards when you came into the US and then reflected back and saying, hey, wow, this is what an incredible experience?
Later, well, no, I did enjoy. See, I love beauty. I'm ruled by Venus. Okay,
Right,
I see beauty in everything, and everything I see beauty. And if I don't, I try to see it. you know
right.
it's a natural way, and I can just look at the sky and make myself happy. I'm gifted that way. And God's grace. So
Hmm.
to be honest, the tree made me happy. And then, and my grandfather loved gardening, and our home was literally, we had everything like flowers, and we had like trees of pears and guavas, and I don't know, everything you can ask for, like everything was there in the backyard. And um it was a big acres of land. And my dad had, like, there were four brothers, so it was like a four brothers home, but all together. And
Right.
so I like the, yeah, smelling the flowers, and I really appreciate, and the mountains are really, really amazing. Though, I mean, I was young, right? So I didn't really really appreciate as much. But later in the years, I was like, wow. And when I went back with my husband in 2012, I ended up being there after 15 years. In the cosmic moment of 2021, 2012, I was there.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, what was that? What was that like? That must have been amazing.
It was just, and I wasn't aware. I mean, that we're partying. I mean, I didn't know about a cosmic event or any of those things then, right?
Yeah, right.
It was just the beginning of it. It was really amazing, though. I had that feeling as well, but I had a lot of fear. The fear really, it had to, because now I see my astrological chart why and all those, I understand this, the nodes of the moon, and I understand that. But I had this fear of darkness, and it was
Explain
prominent.
that. We explain that a little bit more, because I think I can appreciate that myself. And I believe that people have been enduring that since the pandemic. So let's try to flush out what that darkness is and what it meant for you at that point in time, because it's all an illusion, right?
Yeah, but it's a very like real illusion. I mean, it's like, if
Absolutely.
someone, I say illusion, like, okay, well, what does that mean? I feel it, and it's not easy. Like, when someone, and these, it was so prominent that, and I had a Rahu Dasha, there's a planetary cycle, and it's a long one. So fear of darkness is like a real darkness, uh, like someone can come and just kind of like, like a spiritual type of, like a, maybe ghosts. Okay, if I think about it now, like a, like a really dark entities and energies that are just there, and they can. But then I realized that shadow is in my Leo, which is the light. So what I was here to learn was to put light in the darkness, right? But I had to do that first for myself. And it's still there sometimes, but I know what it is now. You kind of live to, like, okay, oh, it's just, one of the, it doesn't bother, but it really was very prominent when I was little. And at the end of the day, what is fear? The fear is about, y- fear is about losing this entity, honestly, this body, this, this flesh, right? That's what fear is. It's like, but at the end of the day, um it's a very survival type of thing, right? You come from light, and you're in this darkness, earth, and a third dimension, especially before the cosmic moment, very dark, right? And having that in my chart made it even more prominent. But even I was scared to even go to churches, even looking at these, maybe my past life from some Catholic thing I may be
Right.
involved in. Who knows, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I may have been bad. I don't know. Okay. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I forgive myself fully,
Right.
and I don't need to make myself constantly reminding myself of the darkness of my, because when you are born as a child, it brings you past life karma, right? Because you don't have a choice. Your family, you didn't choose. I mean, you kind of chose, but it feels like you didn't choose any of this when you're little.
Right.
Because no
Right.
one's listening to you, and all those things. And I brought that darkness, and it was very, very difficult, very fear-ridden, fear-ridden. You know, everything was a lot of that. And you're talking about pandemic. Um, yes, and the answer, you already gave the answer. The answer is not here. The answer is here.
Right.
It doesn't give you darkness. It doesn't. Your heart only has light. Your mind can take on and create its own little structures of fear. And
Yeah. And fear, as you say, but serves a purpose. It's an ego complex overall. But as you become more spiritual, in my view, spirituality to me is degrees of remembrance of your divinity.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Because, you know, and you're absolutely right, because the fear is just, it's an illusion, but it is very important. Like, it's a survive, right? I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely.
if there is a tiger running after me,
It's
I better
important.
be running and not say like, oh God, you know. I mean, you could, if you can really have that connection with that animal, but hey, you know what? You need to survive. You know,
Absolutely.
we are here
Absolutely.
to survive, but we're not here to just survive, we're here to live. And third dimension, it becomes very prominent because you attract these circumstances around you based on your own level of vibration, and the things around that vibrate kind of reflect that. We're just a projector, right? At the end of the day,
Absolutely.
you know, we're just projecting these things and getting scared, oh my God, but we're doing that internally, you know. And I think understanding that organic mechanism of life kind of gets you like, oh, okay, well, okay. And then, you know, this awareness, you're right, because that's what Vedic astrology is all about, to be honest. You know, the whole Veda is about remembering that everything is an aspect of God,
Mm,
everything. And
everything.
everything, you know, that means God's essence is love, right? And that means love is your own essence. Anything that's not love is not real, because everything is God. And then
Everything comes out of love. Love is the only true power in this universe. And that's a hard concept
and
to grasp, because most people can't conceptualize and rationalize that.
because again, I think I did speak about that, but what I learned from myself, the change was intellectually understanding something and integrating that to your energy bodies or your being, let's say. That is, they're two different things, you know. I'm like, oh yeah, I know I gotta eat right, you know. You know, I know I gotta do this, I know I gotta do exercise, I know I have to talk politely, I know a lot of things, I know about reincarnation, I know there's a soul somewhere or whatever, you know. And people are like, yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, I've heard about it, you know. But it's not about hearing things, it's who you are. You are literally a spiritual being. Like, that's our, so there's a spiritual life, the consciousness, right? And that is expressing itself as physical. That's what it is, right?
Right.
And we're animated through different things, like our chakra systems, right? Chakra system talks to you and anybody in the future, past, it talks to anybody. You can interact with the chakra with anybody in any time, place, any, it doesn't matter. Right?
Right.
And we have these different bodies, you know, we have 5 body system that makes us animated, but they're all tuned into different dimensions. So we are a multi-dimensional being, you know, but we want to only operate on a physical level. Sure, I mean, it's your choice, no one's
Right.
going to do anything, but you're going to be doing some crazy stuff and making your life miserable. You know what I mean? So
But
that's
isn't a lot of what's happening now in the transition
Mhm.
into 4D, 5D world, a lot of that is everything being online, understanding how those mechanisms work, and then putting them into effect. Because, in my view, anyways, Nisha, a lot of what we've been enslaved with thousands of years since the fall of Atlantis, actually, is this duality, this polarization. And you talked about shadow and light. I mean, shadow and light they're one. You have to understand the shadow in order to be the light. You just can't be the light, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So this polarity, as it exists, it serves a purpose. It informs us, because how can you know unity if you don't know duality or a reflection of yourself, right? And a lot of that now is coming online. And what was my question around that? I lost the train of thought. Just if anything comes up, let me know.
No, absolutely. And you're you know, you're saying the right thing, because what's happening now is a lot of people have begun to be aware of these things, because we're, I mean, the frequency of the planet has changed. We're going on the 4D, right? We've already kind of on the fourth dimension, so it has become more and more available. And you know, people are now, all this information are given, because after the fall of Atlantis, when they were, you know, the Magi's, and I mean, a lot of things happen. And you know, when when the golden Atlantis was there, the 1500 years, right?
Yeah.
And when this let's say a priest or someone thought about, ooh, that's so awesome, I'm going to use for myself,
Mm.
that entered the consciousness, right? You just, one person has to think literally to have these kind of thought can create real things. So your thoughts are really powerful, honestly.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
even think about, ooh, that's really good for me, and then that's what happened. Probably, I don't know. Somehow it entered, right, and then it started devolving and devolving, and that was their fifth try, the
Right.
Atlantis. We're on the sixth try now. Okay, so we had the whole Noah's Ark, we had the whole ice age. I mean, a lot of things happen on the planet, like we're constantly devolving and our ego taking over. And that's why when in 1987 in August, the harmonics convergence, when Saint Germain went and took the violet flame was given finally, right? And that allowed us to kind of like transmute these lower energies and kind of breathing point, I guess, right? But that also kind of started the 25 years for the 2012 cleansing, right? The process was started. So from 2012 to 2023, it's, I mean, this year is still going to be a little, still cleansing going on, because it's not, the old has not been destroyed fully, right? But I think it's in the verge of just about to fall off. Right.
Yes.
And people, and that will wake a lot of people up, because like a trauma wakes you up like that, right? Oh my God, like what is this, and that's going to happen. But and as we're going through the evolutionary process, and all these lights are now, Mahatma energy is back, and it's a very powerful one, you know what I mean? And that can really help you through your ascension. And there are a lot of lights are now given to us, and the five the chakras that were taken from the Atlantis time are coming back now. So we will be able to go to our causal chakra and go to talk our soul star chakra, and our stellar gateway and our earth star chakra. So all these things are coming up, so that once it's your chakra fully functions and starts kind of really rotating fast, you literally go up to the next frequency. I mean, it's a very mechanical
Right.
and I also learned what I'm here to do, because as I learned my Vedic astrology. But because of one thing for sure is, people who were in charge at the Atlantean time 10,000 years ago, who were responsible for all this, are already in position of power today, the same beings. And what's happening because of that is the fear, the guilt, all these things that accumulated from that time. And there were, I mean, it's not only from that time. I mean, this is 240,000 years. It's a long time, right? But at that time when we actually did the big nuclear blast, not the recent one, the crazy one that they did a long, long time ago, people have not been able to forgive that as a collective.
Right.
So why is forgiveness important? It's not only about, okay, I'm going to be a bigger person. No, it's not only that. It really affects the whole collective as a human being, and personally too,
Yes.
and because the collective example I can talk about is like, someone got into accident, and it's not going to be, his waist down's not going to work anymore, right? Actually, to be honest, in the higher frequency, you can heal that. But collectively, we don't believe that. So it's not possible. It is not possible. But now that we raise the frequency, we've seen like the quantum healing technologies and all these different things are coming up, and people are like, wow, how is he healing? Because now a lot of collective are opening up, loosening that, belief, and the light can come in and actually do its work.
Yeah, and in my belief system too, a lot of it has been suppressed or ridiculed or labeled in such a way, because the belief system of a human being is one of purity. So when they actually see a possibility, and there isn't that degree of questioning, and allows the magic and the possibilities to exist. So a lot of what we've endured over periods of time is this fragmentation and programming. And yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I just wanted to kind of share through Ayurveda and consciousness itself, I mean, what is consciousness, right? Because according to the modern medicine, consciousness is a byproduct of our thought or whatever they call it, right? It's very interesting, and it's okay. I think that's not going to last for too long, but consciousness is really our true existence. That's how we are in this whole universe, right? And when we want to come in as a human being or the whole physical, so God is this giant super consciousness, and we're a littler consciousness within his consciousness, right?
Yeah.
But and then all the creation, right? All the physical comes from this one underlying source of intelligence.
Do
And
you
we're
think it's a hologram? Do you think it's a projected hologram?
what I understand and what in Veda they say is, so the modern understanding, let's talk about another. So modern understanding of the consciousness model believes
Okay.
that your mind, body, and soul, this trinity that we
Yes.
call human being, is it actually rests upon this unified, it comes out like a tripod. So we
Yeah.
are actually coming out of it like a physical, we're
Yeah.
coming out like a physical, so it stands like a tripod, mind, body, and soul. And everything, it's supported like a tripod is supported by the ground. The consciousness, we're always attached to it.
Right.
What happens is, according to Vedas, our soul, we get covered with the veils of illusion.
Yes.
So the
Maya.
first one is called, this is called, they're like called koshas, like a different seeds that cover
Okay.
the, then first your soul gets into your spiritual body.
Hmm.
Then it is covered by your intellectual body or your higher mental body. Then the emotional body, like a Russian doll,
Right.
then the emotional, the lower thought body. Then your mechan like a body, like a pranic energetic body, and then the physical. So
Body.
the
Yeah.
light from the soul is always coming that way. It's always coming that way, right? But when there is, your mind is thinking too much and your body, that's the only active, the light gets distorted now, and you're
Yeah.
not getting in your physical because it blocks. It has to be always flowing like a, imagine your soul is a heart, and the heart light is coming, the first template, which is your spiritual body, it goes through that, then your other body until the time it comes out. And when you see some people glowing, the light is coming through slowly now, they're like, oh my god, like you were talking about, I see light, because I've been doing practices to kind of, and how Jesus had his whole halo. I mean, imagine the light, you know, and so that's one thing. But then, your physical and your spiritual is linked by the chakra system. The chakra is what links your physical with all
Yes.
these other bodies,
Yes.
and that's how you express. And now that's blocked and it's not moving, and you want to say something but you can't, and you're
Hmm.
frustrated, and then guess what, now you have a thyroid problem because you
Right.
can't speak up for yourself. And that's how the physical manifestation take place.
So there's so many important points on this. I want to actually spend some time on this. So the thought process, your thoughts, as you said before, are incredibly important because they do manifest um, materialistically in some way, shape, or form. So disease is some way connected to your thought process. Number one, what can people do, in your view, to remove the distortion? Because as you said, every aspect of the energetic bodies potentially does have a veil of sort
Mhm.
that prevents the light completely coming in undistorted, as it were. So what can people do and start thinking about in order to create this purity of alignment with the light?
Thought is interesting, right? you know when you think about the thought, it just changes. You really can't think about your thought, and if you think about your thought, it replaces, and you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Once you really sit down and really watch your thoughts, it really kind of tells you what's going on in there. And And what happens is, some of the research I've done is 90% of these thoughts are repeating thoughts.
Yeah.
70% are negative. So imagine this same thing over about COVID and COVID and COVID. I don't know. I'm just, a lot of things. Oh, he doesn't understand me. It's every time. This doesn't understand me. And then you expect the person to understand you, but your belief. And this is a really beautiful thing. Amma, which is my gurus have said that, thought, your belief is like a crowd. Like your thoughts are like, if a thought is a person, a belief is like it's a crowd of that. So when there's a bunch of people come in together, that is what crowd is. When they go, what is crowd? There is no crowd, because it just dissipates, right? So same with our thoughts. When we have thoughts over, it becomes like a block, like a structure. It creates a structure, and the structure is your belief. And some belief are so true for you, you become like, it's a truth. It's not even belief anymore. That you don't even kind of question that, because that's the truth. So what I recommend people to do is, first of all, watching your thoughts, and not just, watch, what are we going to do? You can, there are many exercises and stuff that are available now, but the most important thing is, when you watch your thoughts, first of all, you can start with like beginning to write those things down. Okay. Or just at least be aware. Oh, wow. I'm thinking, just pick one topic that's bothering you. Just, you can't change in one day, right? Just pick one topic that's bothering you, and watch just that topic that's bothering you. Whether it's be about finances, whether it's be about relationships, or whatever it is, right? Let's say relationship is a very common topic, right? Someone is not understanding you. That's the basis of pretty much, right? Someone is not understanding you, and you're not understanding, and who's going to understand? And now, great, the Mercury retrograde is here. So in that, right?
Exactly. More distortion.
But this is the moment. It's actually a good time we're having this conversation, because this is really the time to watch that story, watch your belief. Go and see, like, is it really true? Is that really the story I've been telling myself? What is my story? Do I,
Right.
because you can always rewrite your story. So what I would do is kind of go to your thought, and your thoughts can be slowed down. You can hold your thoughts. I mean, it's a deep exercise you got to do. I don't think I can teach that right now, but you can really kind of see where it's in your eyeballs, right? Your thoughts mostly right here sometimes, and then you can it comes from the pineal gland. Your third eye kind of is watching this thing in the eyeball, right? Pretty much. But then if you go back, you take your consciousness here, cerebellum here, you can watch the watcher watching the watcher.
Yes. Yeah.
It sounds very complicated, but you can be the observer for a second and just kind of check it out. I mean, the easiest way people to first even do this, why would I do that? Okay, thoughts and all that, is to remember that we are here temporarily. So imagine the movie Avatar. Remember how he goes into this thing and he comes out as another body,
Yes.
right? To add like, what's that guy's name? Jason Bourne to it, right? Now you forgot why you're even here in this body, and kind of like try to learn from other people. What are they saying? What are they saying?
Exactly.
We're pretty much in that.
Right.
But if you remember that, they don't need to say that, oh, you have a true power, because you already know, oh, wow, we are powerful beings doing this fun stuff here. Like, we forgot about this thing. You know what I mean? And we're just, okay, let's wake everybody up so we can go to the next level. Right.
And so what you're talking about, it really is, to distill it, if I can add to it, if it's okay to add to it, is self-reflection, right? You're talking about self-reflection, and thoughts, in my research, are associated with emotions. As you said, we got about 70,000 thoughts during the day, and they're broken down into 4 aspects, negative, positive, procedural, and just things that need to mechanical wise. Having aspects of your thoughts and having an audit of your thoughts on the hour or whenever you remember, and how have those thoughts either made you more empowered or has actually brought you down, maybe depressed you, or has captured you in a certain way?
No, I don't think the awareness ever brings depression, because
Okay.
you just have that whoa. And it is kind of like, oh, okay, I got to work on this. You know what I
Right.
mean? But the confusion is what brings depression, right? At the end of the day, like
Lack of
if
clarity. Yeah.
that clarity is really like, okay, what is the thought? What is the emotion? But as I said, the first, Anandamaya Kosha is what it calls, the first spiritual body, and then the light flows in, and even the planets, that's how they send the
Mm,
test. The planets are literally the teachers in our
okay.
life. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Maybe it's time now. I
Yeah.
will. But just finish this kosha thing, right? So when the soul is sending you the answers, all these things, right? And that comes in, and then it goes to your mental body. And let's say, just example, okay, someone like really upset me, right? And what happens is the test comes to you, he says something now.
Mm,
The first thing is what? Oh my God, I don't believe you're going to talk to me that way, or whatever that comes, right?
a trigger.
A trigger comes. And the next thing is you feel angry. So now it
Right.
goes to emotional body. So your
Yes.
mental body has now moved into your emotional body, right? Emotional body. And even the thought is emotion at that time, right? Because your thoughts and emotions are like, it's not intuition, it's not your intelligence, it's your thought. Okay, without all that. Then it goes to your energetic body. That means your heartbeat is now going fast. And then you need to take action with your physical, right? So you can do
Yeah.
two things. One, you can just say something really nasty, or go just punch
No.
that person, right?
Right.
So that's how it works. I know it's a simplified version of,
No.
you know
Absolutely true. Yeah.
how it comes to you in a daily basis. And I want to kind of add a little bit about Vedic astrology to clarify this, right? So this unified field, and how we are, from the soul, we come out as a physical, and the light is always flowing through, and the chakra systems are there. And what is consciousness? We can talk a little bit about quality of consciousness, and
Yeah.
how we
Okay.
bring that, right, to it is it is blissful. It's a Sakta Chit Ananda, right? It's creative, right? It's really like what we attend to, we can really create,
Mm,
right? Through this light. It is energetic, it's source of all liveliness. It unifies us, right?
yes.
And it contains within it like the essence of love,
Mm,
right? It is intelligent because it organizes things in creation,
yes.
right? It is evolutionary, so it organizes the growth of the individual, right? There's consciousness. It is all pervasive, it's everywhere, at once, and it connects with everything
All at
creation,
once. Yeah.
right? It's life enhancing, it's healing. I mean, all these things is consciousness, and we have access to that. So why
Right.
not use it? Right? Why not use all these amazing things that I just said? And from a scientific point of view also, what is mass? Mass is energy, and energy is consciousness. The human body is pretty much like a vehicle for our human soul, right? And same with like a planets, even like a planets, right? So how much mass there is depends on the quantity of your consciousness.
Mm,
So the physical mass, like the earth is living, right? So imagine earth's consciousness, how much quantity of like huge consciousness
yes.
projecting this, right? And same with other planets.
Yes.
They're all living forces.
Yes.
And
And that quality of consciousness affects us as human beings, right?
yeah. And what happens is, it and in a quantum level, you can connect, very right. You can connect anywhere with anybody at any time. It's very instantaneous in a
Right.
quantum level. And so that's how, because otherwise the planets are too far to make any effect on us. How do you do that? I mean, the planet is all the way, I don't even see it. Like, how is it affecting me right now?
Right.
I mean, but it is. So what happens is, based on astrology, when you're born, um based on your karma. Okay, and karma is very simple. Karma is not out there to get you. Karma is like a natural law, like gravity. If you go and I'm going to jump over here from here, well, the gravity is going to kill me or whatever is going to happen because I just went against the natural law of gravity. The karma is the same thing. If I'm going to eat crap, I'm going to have crappy health. I mean, it's so simple, but we want to complicate because we don't want to hear about it, right? Yeah. It's like I'm doing all the great things. I don't know why this happens to me and whatever. So that's how we deal with it. But it's like, hey, if you do exactly what, the results are exactly that. It's so precise. It's so precise.
It's consequences of thoughts and action, right?
Action. Yeah, absolutely. That's all it is. To be honest, all your actually karma translates to action.
Okay.
Remember I told you came to and you're so upset and now you're about to do that. Yeah. That action is yours.
That's right. And that has a consequence.
That has a consequence. It's because you can feel that way. You can get angry and you can just not take that action or say whatever you want to say or you can't, but you're going to continue to repeat and fail that test. And you can move from here to Nepal. That is going to follow you.
It's true. I see that with people changing jobs because people encounter a certain respect and it's very difficult. It's like, well, I'm going to change it. They change jobs and they still encounter those people. They still encounter those circumstances.
And it's really incredible. But yeah, these things has to be, taught, and that's why I'm writing the book. And everything that is physical it's created through the 5 elements. Everything. Yes. Everything is created through the 5 elements. And your body, your constitution, who you are, your everything, planets, everything has made through the 5 elements and the 3 gunas. They call. Can
you talk about the 5 elements and the 3 gunas just to have people more awareness on that?
Absolutely. So 5 elements, they're really special because it goes from the from earth, which is like the more of a solid physical, right? Mm-hmm. And then the water you go. So all the the minds and things like that. The consciousness is a very low conscious, the earthy consciousness, like you can see like a rock
density wise,
rudimentary type of thing, right? And then there's the water that can sit, mm-hmm. and that creates the plant kingdom. The plant kind of sit there and stuff, right? But you can move. You can move with the plant, right? And plant has their own, and it has consciousness. Plant has consciousness too. Yes. But it doesn't allow you to run away if someone comes and attacks. I mean, some plants have their own defense mechanisms.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? But it cannot really do anything, and then in the fire, because you take the plant and you cut the wood and it becomes fire now, right? And the fire is what helps you to kind of digest everything, like you are kind of, and the animal, that's the animal kingdom, you're mm-hmm. just there and you're kind of taking in all that stuff, right? And then air, which we have, like your communication. Air is what you communicate with, your thoughts, and as in like intelligence. They're all done through like earth element, and then your space, which is it encompasses everything.
Would that be equivalent to ether or?
Ether.
Okay.
Right. So those 5 elements create the entire the physical universe with the 3 attributes, which is the one that binds you. Everything mm-hmm. binds you here, right? Otherwise, how are you going to be solid? Right. And that is you can call it mind, body, soul, or you can call it, in Veda, I call it tamas, rajas, and sattva, okay. Which is like your tamasic energy, which is very earthy. Rajasic is when we communicate with people. So tamasic is something like Saturn and Mars. Okay. Saturn is there to remind you of, Saturn is a very interesting planet, right? Because it kind of reminds you of all the things you've done wrong. Like, hey, you remember that? Remember you did that? Shame, and if it's not evolved, like you did that. And Mars is like, if it's a tamasic kind of, and they are tamasic, you need that. If someone comes to fight you, you want to fight back.
Or at least like protect yourself.
protects. No, there are two things you can do, right? If there's nowhere to go, you will fight. You don't have a choice, then you will kind of like till you die, right?
Right.
But the difference between Mars and Saturn is Mars is going to be like about fighting. Saturn is about avoiding. So it's a fight or flight. That's Mars, and that's how it works. But once you evolve, you're talking Mars is about taking action with integrity. No matter how hard it is, I'm going to go take that action, you know. And the same with and or like, hey, that's not the battle I'm interested in. You know exactly what not to get involved, you know. But if it's a really lower quality of Mars, you may go and kill someone because you just can't control. You're just that intelligence is not evolved. So what happens in astrology is there are three things. One is planets, houses, and signs.
Okay.
Right. So planets are pretty much the teachers, and they all hold something. Like I told you about Mars and Saturn, right? So you have three levels of that, three gunas of that. How you evolving in that depends on that, right? So if your Mars is really evolved, then it can really be a really good thing. You're always taking action, you know what not to get into and all that stuff. But if it's not, and you're in this level of, you know, then you can take that action. And same with Venus is the same thing. Venus is about relationship, other people. If it's not evolved, then it can be like, you know, very lustful and kind of like a very, you know, about just sexuality, the relationship. You just don't kind of like a very lower kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Nothing more than just physical,
Right.
You know, the physical level of relationship. But then you
Absolutely.
evolve and you're like, oh wow, you know what? I love him so much. I'm willing to sacrifice this. And that's you know, with people, let's be fair, you know, fair things is all that. And when it's evolved, your devotion to your higher self, that hey, I am happy myself, but I can still be with you. I don't need you to make me happy.
Right.
How we evolve with all of these planets. Okay, so that's the teachers. And then they come up and they express themselves either through masculine signs or through feminine signs, you know. And what that means is masculine is more about assertive and taking action type of people, and the other one is reflective. So it's assertive or reflect, pretty much kind of like that. And that's how these signs come out, and that's how we feel. So signs are our pretty much how we're feeling about this. And the houses are the areas of life.
Okay.
You know, and that's how it works. The houses are, for example, okay, I'll give you an example here. I had kind of like, I'm going to write this is what I thought. So I have written this, you know, kind of like, it's very important. So the first, we need our body. That's the first house.
Right.
First house is our physical body. How you experience life through first is like, it's only you can experience. No one can, right? Like your life, you can tell me, but I can't experience your life because you are physically there to experience that. And a lot of people think first house is ego. It's not. It's a third house, but it's more about just your physical presence, your true nature. And then you have values, your second house, right? Then you go beyond your values, and value like your family, your circle of people, you know, that's your value system, right? And then you're like, okay, you know what, I have more interest in the family, and you go in third house. That's your interest, curiosity, and all those things, you know. And then what happens is these create a certain feeling in your heart and get like a greater peace or not. I mean, it may not bring the greater peace. And then goes back to your first house based on, if it's not peace, like, wow, why did I do that? Who am I? For a second, you go back and that process, and you change your values, you change your interest, and it goes on. But if it goes to your heart, like, then you take into your heart in the fifth house. Okay. And then the sixth house is about doing all the work so that you can keep that thing you love. Like a child, the mother will never wake up in the morning and say like, oh, I got to do all this diaper change and I got to pay for her this. No, no, it's not that she wakes up like, I'm going to change the diaper today. It's not. It's just the innate thing that you love so much, you are willing to sacrifice and fight for others, all that. That's the sixth house. And then the seventh house is your family. It's about other people, your relationship, and it goes on, transformation, then goes to your high. After all that, what did you learn in the ninth house? What is your highest teaching? Okay. The 10th house is How are you going to take action now? This is your highest action. You learn all this. So what is the action based on that? And the 11th is our highest desire, and 12th is the moksha, that you're done and you cycle. But it goes in a, different ways. I mean, it's very difficult. I mean, I guess I did a good job kind of explaining this, what is astrology is. Because and as the cycle come in, the planetary cycle, the test unfold. So if you have a Saturn cycle, you're going to unfold all these things with house it rules. It depends. And the difference between Western and Eastern astrology, Western and Vedic, is well, Western, because I think it'll help people to understand what I understand is, and you can do some more research on this. The simple way of understanding is when you were born, wherever the sun was, the sun stays in that sign for 30 days.
Okay.
That's your sun sign, right? But in Vedic astrology, the moment you were born is very important. The moment you're the sign that is coming from the eastern horizon, that's you. Okay. And that is that moment. And 5 minutes later, it changes. So you get a precise kind of like moment where you're born. And what happens is, it's called the being and time. So when you actually incarnate through all these koshas and you have veils and you're ready to incarnate, you get into this wheel of time. Okay. Yes. And what happens is the birth chart is when you're Eastern, when you're, from the East, whatever is rising, that is your rising sign. And based on that, all the other signs fall in a certain house. And all the planets falls in certain houses, right? So, and then you kind of calculate that way. But if it's the sun sign, then, Western, then for 30 days, I mean, you can be anywhere, right? But besides that, they're all the same, how planets, and I think the Western and Eastern are the same, but this gives you more precise thing of who you are. What's your innate nature? And it's so precisely, it's just like, I was like, sometimes I'm still reading. I'm like, wow, the heaven knows you exactly who you are, your health, all these different areas of life. And that's what astrology is so important. I feel like it has to be taught from when you're a little kid. If you're learning about sun, you need to know what the sun is doing also from spiritual.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think there's so much more information as kids that could be shared, especially with the sciences, but there's also got to be the spiritual aspects of it as well. I did have actually a Vedic astrology done a while back. And as you know, as I've told you, I was born through a midwife. So no one apparently had a watch and no one had put a time down on it. So for me, I'm always struggling to figure out time precise. And
we rectify, but you can ask people. I am not qualified for that yet.
Yeah.
But there are like an advanced level of astrology where you can actually look at your events and kind of go back, and they can really precisely find when you were born.
Right. So I think what you're saying is that you would give an estimation of the time, and then the important moments of your time, whatever those hallmark moments, would act as validation. But I had not known that the Vedic astrology is very nuanced, that brings you more information of who you are as an individual and what you need to overcome as an individual as well. Would that be fair to your challenges?
What it does is they have something called this dasha system, which is a planetary cycle system, and they believed in the Kali Yuga that people will live around 120 years. So they have their 120 years of this. And what it does is when the planetary cycle comes, but also the transits, that means when the static, this birth chart interacts with the planets that are actually going up, it actually really is happening every day. It's unfolding something or the other. So they can actually tell you exactly what that is. What's coming, what's happening, how you're going to feel, and the actions you can take. Again, you're going to feel that way. You're still going to be like that. But then if you pass that, then it won't feel like that next time, because now you evolved and there are other tests are coming and all those kind of things, because keep in mind that even if some planets are not evolved, and they are in a bad shape and you have to do the calculation, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have that channel to that full expression. It
Right.
just is in a very difficult spot. Right. If you're looking at the river, it's in the far stream and it has to go all through way. And some of the planets are already in the by the ocean, you know. So,
Right.
so you have that channel. And sometimes when the planets they open that channel for you and you feel like all of a sudden you're just, you know. So that's why imagine every day you know exactly what you have to deal with. Won't that be easy to, in life?
Sure, it sure would. Yeah, it sure would. And then to leverage all that information into ascension.
Yeah, and for companies, countries, everybody. I mean,
Right.
this is in a level of everybody could really utilize these. Well, I mean, again, it was not given because people were using it for, really bad purposes in the past because of their lower, frequency. But now that people are waking up and we're really being really blessed with all these things coming up. I mean,
Yes.
I was born in a family of I didn't know any. I mean, it took me like 20, a long time to even get into that.
Well, the timing is always correct in your point in time as well. I want to ask you two questions,
Okay.
and then I want to ask you a third question as a sort of as a follow-up. So the first question is, what can you share with us right now, very minimal for 2022 from a Vedic astrology perspective, and maybe 1 or 2 points, 3 points as highlights of what people can expect for 2022. And you did tell me that there was a video that your group had made if people are interested in that. So maybe to talk a little bit more about that.
I think the most important thing, well, two things are very important. Well, right now, today, I think we're going to Mercury retrograde. And retrograde pretty much is more of a, reflecting aspect of the planet's quality. And we need to understand what that means. What is Mercury? I think that's the most important thing. What is Mercury? I mean, evolved level, it's the intelligence and it's the discrimination, exactly what's what. In the lowest form, it's dishonesty.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm just giving you the extreme now. Okay,
Yes.
but there are other things in between, like communication. It's an air sign. Air sign is about intellect, communication, and people who are like Gemini, let's say,
Hmm.
they're all about talking. They like to do this, and like have it like, hey, humor. So that's what Mercury is about. That's kind of like it gets us going in the social life.
Right.
And now that's retrograde. That means it's time for reflection now, like what you've been saying, what you've been doing, and people are not aware. Now you're trying to say something, but yeah, so there's a lot of this miscommunication can happen right now because you're thinking something, it's a lot going on. So
Right.
it's better to kind of like take a moment, and kind of like do that. It is also, we have and I think it's going in Capricorn, so more of a like a earthy, we can do in a like a more tangible way. And actually Saturn is already there, so Saturn is already helping with this. Saturn is in its own sign of Capricorn, more of like a hands-on type of, like earth. So it's an earth element, it's ruled by earth. So and another important thing is Venus is already in retrograde. That means it's time to reflect our relationship about, hey, you know what? But what's happening is Mars is joining it. So Mars is about action, and now reflection, action. You. I've been doing all this for you. Me, right? Because Mars is also about individuality. Me, and it's very important. I mean, it's a survival, kind of like a, it's so what's could happen. I'm not saying going to. What could happen if we don't kind of take in account is there will be that individuality and other people. So Mars and Venus going on, where Venus is it's retrograde, so it's more of a reflecting like time. So I would recommend everybody to kind of, thoughts are there, but kind of this is a very good time to kind of take account of what has transpired in your life, in the recent years, about relationships and communications, and time to like, okay, what is my story? How is my relationships? And why is it so?
Hmm.
Good or not, it doesn't matter. And everything is as it is. There's no good or not, but we give it
Right.
like a label, oh, it's good and all that. So I highly do that. However, good news is in April, we have Jupiter going to Pisces, which is its own sign. So the guru, the counseling, all this, you're going to see a lot of that. So as we go through this tough time, there will be a lot of healing time coming too. So
Oh, amazing.
a lot of transformation. It's a lot of transformation this year. It's not going to be as crazy if you understand that we are more than just what is in front, and in a
Yes.
very micro level. So we got to go and look in the macro level for a minute, and then and
So
go within.
I just want to get some clarity, Nisha. So you're talking about now with Mercury and Mars coming in and Venus. So Mercury is all about self-reflection. So what you're suggesting is for people to do a lot of reflection or to reflect.
Mercury, no, the retrograde is about reflection, not
Oh,
Mercury.
yes,
Mercury
yes.
is your what do you speak?
Yeah,
Rules.
absolutely.
It's your third chakra, your what do you call throat chakra? Sorry,
Throat chakra.
this
Yeah.
is your throat chakra. So it's kind of like about how you've been telling your story. Oh, you know what? I had this. Nobody really cared for me. Every time. I don't know. We have stories, man. The whole
Yeah, yeah,
universe is full of
yeah,
stories, right? It's
yeah.
time to check that. It's time
Right.
to not go and say how it is, but rather listen. It's time to listen.
And take action.
Take
And is it take action through that once you've done that reflection?
Well, action you always have to take, but the integrity of the action is what matters, right?
Right.
You were always taking action when I mean, we live in the world of action and act, we're always out, we get up, we do that, we want to do this, I want to interview with you, this. We're always doing some things, right? It's a matter of not getting engaged into the lower frequencies because we know that everybody is going through it, not only you. The
Right.
other person is also going through Mercury retrograde, not only you.
Right.
So this is like a very, you may not say the right thing because you're trying to kind of hold, it's not so that's what happens in Mercury retrograde. It's a very great time, honestly, to do self-reflection, to be honest. It's a really good time, but it's very
Amazing.
difficult for us to change our stories, like, oh, my dad has been like this throughout his life, look at, I don't know, there's stories we tell ourselves. It's a good time to kind of look through that, and also in relationship right now, because it can it is going to have some aggressive energy because of Mars is fire. So again, remember,
Yes.
fire, air, and you just kind of get a little elemental difference there. But having said that, and I think it's a sign of Sagittarius. But point being, bottom line is to reflect more than just kind of taking action without thinking. I would say, like, just gonna take a minute and breathe, because breath is a gift of God.
Yes.
Breathe for a second. It's just how you connect to source. You breathe really, and that's what we like, because we're not breathing because we're not connected to God. And if you just and you just, oh wow, God is always present, and he's given us this amazing way of connecting to him directly. You don't need anybody.
Right. But we take it for granted, though, I think.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, do you provide Vedic astrology services? Can people get in touch with you to do that service, or is it still something that you're getting yourself into?
Well, I am, I maybe, so what I'm doing, I can share a little bit. And, my foundation, we're working on that and kind of raising consciousness. So I'll be doing some of the work through that. But
Okay.
I'm also, I'm really focused on the book, writing the book, but I'm taking some clients word to mouth, and that way, because I don't want to overwhelm myself, as well as I want to kind of dedicate some time to that. Plus, I'm working on a school. So I'll be launching school that's going to have all these courses and amazing services, and all those things will be provided. My cosmic school, that's kind of bringing in the East and West kind of together.
Have you picked a name yet?
Yeah.
Can you share that with them?
Yeah. It's called Institute of Cosmic Literature, Arts, and Science, called In Class.
Nice. Very nice. Well, congratulations on that. Do you have a launch date?
No, because just like my book, okay, it's also taking. So I'll tell you a little bit about book you asked me earlier. So my
Yeah.
book started with just one book, but then when I traveled to the Akashic and I saw the other books, so it turned into 3 volumes now. It's the same book, but it kind of got into a little different path. So my first book, I'll be done very soon. So what will that be? Is it's called so the 3 volumes, they're called Destination Earth. That's what
Okay.
it, and the first one is called The Magical Mystery School. And that will talk about mostly pre-birth, what happens. Pre-birth, before you were born, what my soul went through kind of goes through. That's what it's going to be. And my second book is called the same name, called A Time Personified, where I actually am born now. And I go through my planetary cycles and how it has affected my life.
Wow.
Yeah, and then my third book is about this planetary changes called Abundance Consciousness. So those are my 3 books, and I'm pretty much channeling these things, and it's going to be very interesting. Seems like it's really exciting actually to write this book, and it really truly changed my whole entire thing. And my name of my last book became the course Ascend to Your Cosmic Self. So I'm going to have a 8 weeks course called Ascend to Your Cosmic Self.
And I suspect we'll be ready for April because that's when all the guru comes in.
I
Right.
believe so. And, I think there'll be a lot more. And, because of all these things are, it's been the disclosure or whatever you call it is happening now, right? And people even in like, working in the corporate world or our finances or I don't know, like doctors, everything has been missing the soul aspect of it. So
Yes.
now it will begin to integrate, and to do that, an old system is going to fall off. We
Yes.
won't have any Amazon or anything like that. I don't believe in 5 years. I'll give them max 5, if any. These things won't be there. And it served its purpose. It was supposed to be there because we had to kind of get these things when we're quarantined, and everything serves a purpose.
Absolutely.
Judas was there so Jesus can demonstrate what he was
Yeah.
here to do. And he forgave him. So we got to forgive a lot of people here, and the things that are happening. So it's a good time to kind of learn. And I think I spoke to you about last time about the heart center, the 33 chambers, and where we're going with that test.
Yeah, so we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop here. There's so much we haven't talked about, and I would love to do a part 2 when you've got your schedule open, because I think heart consciousness, feminine energy that we're in right now is really important. What that means for the planet as a whole, and what it means for us as physical males and physical females.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk about a little bit more about consciousness and everything that's happening at this point in time. And more importantly, Nisha, community. I want to talk a little bit about community and what community means, and how community, anchoring community where you're at with this heart consciousness. As you know, we're both in the heart consciousness leadership podcast that Suzette has done, and she's done an amazing work, and to anchor that. And collectively, all of us need to do more of that. So even individuals that are listening to this, I'd love to give more pointers of what that is, because we're going to need a lot of anchoring in community.
Absolutely. I think that's where we're headed with the Aquarian age. And I think we're beginning to kind of feel that now, the community and oneness. Oneness is what it is. Yeah.
Oneness indeed. I thank you so much for your wisdom and your time. I look forward to continuing these conversations, Nisha. Do you have any last words? Do you have any last thoughts? Anything that comes to mind before we end?
Right. I would say one thing is, not to take everything so seriously in life, because it weighs you down.
Hmm.
Angels fly because they take everything lightly, right? So that's why they have wings, you
Hmm.
know, and because their heart center is so huge that it goes like that and it becomes wings. And we all can do that. So take things lightly and just be blessed to be alive, because it's really a gift. It
It
really is.
really is.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Nisha. Until next time.
All right. Bye bye.